Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Dr. Antonio. This is the Live Loud Life Show. I'm on this journey. I'm bringing you guys along if you're choosing to be here. And I'm recapping my experience in doing psychedelic therapy. This is something that's completely new to me. In college, drinking was something that I did. Smoking some weed was something that I have done in the past, but never anything about psychedelics. And I've been fascinated. I've been curious, and it's been extremely helpful for this moment in my life, and for me as a father, for me as a husband, for me as just a person. And I'm just sharing the recounts of what I have experienced, and also the integration. And I'm hoping to do both those today. And I'm trying to keep this fresh because my third journey was just on Friday, and I got a lot still bouncing through my head and whatnot. And there's a lot to process and a lot to go through, and that's part of the integration part, which I'm catching up with again on tomorrow to kind of walk through some of this stuff. But I just want to share it. And so, if you're down, I encourage you to check out sessions 1 and 2, which I was just posted just before this. And just kind of hear about what those recounts were and what the recap was for this one was. Each one's different. Each one's so different. And, I think there's layers to it because there were parts of, let's say the first two that came up just a little bit, but the intention of this one was a little bit different, a little bit more focused, a little bit more structured, if you will, meaning my mindset and thought process. The second one was really open for anything. This one was kind of the same routes. I didn't have really any expectations, and I kept going into that with a few different songs. Trevor Hall is an artist that I've been following recently, and his music and his lyrics and his words have been extremely helpful. And I set up my playlist. I built a playlist for this journey to have a few of his songs at the beginning here to help me as I'm starting to feel things increase, go deeper into that and reframe and set up that mindset process. And a lot of that was without expectation. That was one of it, and that's one of his songs. And just kind of just trying to tune into a deeper connection to myself and slow down. Where the second one, I was amped. I was excited because the first one was so good that my mind was just so much more excited. And this one, I went in, and the intention was to slow down and to be a little calmer. And I think that helped significantly. And again, the whole point of this is to let whatever comes out, to follow and to float and to go with where it seems like the journey is guiding you, and to not have any resistance or friction towards that. And a couple of the themes that came up was distractions. One of the things that Ashley and I were talking about before was just attention, and just like focusing your attention on what is here and what is now, and not getting distracted about everything else, and just kind of coming back. The distractions will come and go. And this is in part the work that afterwards is just the meditation journey after this too, but the distractions will come and go. And the point is to just slow down and try to grab your attention and bring it back to what you're actually trying to do. And I apologize, this is going to sound a little scattered. I'm partially using this also for myself to try to recount this, so I can go back and listen to this video, this audio, and try to replay it again. So it will sound a little scattered as I'm thinking through this as we're going. And so a lot of what happened in the first one was there was a lot of waves, and I was on the ocean, and I felt that if I could not be anchored, I can't be the calm in the storm, right? And as a father, as a leader in my family and the community, if I'm all over the place, I can't be the calm in the storm. When the storm hits and I'm all over the place, then it's just adding more craziness to that. And so that was a theme that came up. And the point was not that the storm won't be there. Like, I can't change that. But if I don't know where the harbor is, where home is, I have less calmness in the storm. I feel like I'm just being taken away by whatever's coming to get me, or whatever's coming at me, or whatever's pulling me. And that would again be whether it's intention, whether it's an event, whether it's just something that sometimes negative comes up, shit happens. If I don't have that harbor, and that harbor was in what I felt the analogy of me and being comfortable with me and being confident about me, and having more love and respect for me. If I don't have that, then I can't be that calmness in the storm. And this was in direct relationship to my family. It wasn't like the business and all this other stuff didn't come up. Like for me, it was honing in on the calmness. I have to be the calmness in the storm for my family. Now, it starts with me, and then, there's layers to it, like Nichelle and I. And then when we come together, we're even more powerful because our assertiveness in ourselves, our calmness and confidence in ourselves can then be portrayed better because we are better connected, because each one of us are confident in ourselves, if that makes sense. And it was just like those adding layers to that. And then the kids felt more confident because of that. And they felt safe, and they felt respected, and they felt heard, whatever that might be. And then all of a sudden I would get more distractions. And from a lot of the things I've been trying to at least research or learn about from the meditative process is, again, bringing that attention back in. So I would focus on just a face, like I'd put Nichelle's face right in front of mine. And I would just try to, as best as I can, recount, the curves of her face, the figure of her face, the shadows and all these different elements of it. And then bringing a lot of gratitude towards that, and thanking God, thanking everything that's above and beyond me that has created me, and created everything. Just a thank you of gratitude. And I would say that time and time again, and I'd just say thank you. And then, a thought would try to race into my head, and I'd be like, no, let me see her face. And I just keep looking, and I'd say thank you. And I try to think of something else about her that I love, and I'd say thank you, and so on and so forth. And then I went down the kids. I went to Bowden, I went to Leomi, Tage, and Vander. Not so much for myself. Interestingly enough, a lot of the focus was on them. But interestingly enough, one I had trouble with was my oldest son, Bowden. And we are two people that kind of butt heads, if you want to say that. We kind of crash into differences of opinions from time to time. And it's not a bad thing. It's just that what was going on, or what has been going on, was, this not calm in the storm. And then he would feed off of that because he's the oldest and he's extremely smart and extremely bright. He would challenge me a lot, and that would bring up more friction between us. And so for him, I knew this was an issue and a problem that I've been having. And so I spent more time on him. I spent more time looking at him. I spent more time appreciating him and his curiosity and his questions and some of those things that sometimes I find is irritating as a blessing, and something that I do truly love about him, and that I needed to cultivate and allow to grow more, and not put down just because I might be quote unquote annoyed at something that might possibly be, going on or something like that. But ultimately, it was super beneficial to start from that track as I started to get distracted and pulled. And then I would just say, no, this is a distraction. Come back in. This is a distraction. And then I felt myself, if you want to say peace or comfort or something like that, after I went through that gratitude process, the ship that was on the ocean was able to sail. And I didn't have a specific destination, because the intention of going into this is just see where the journey goes. So I was just riding this ship, and I was just enjoying the waves, and it was very calm. And, things would come up, and it would kind of be, okay, sure, great, whatever that might be. And I would just say, come back to the present, and just float. Just float. That was kind of the analogy, if you will, was just float. And that was kind of the first session of the journey. And it sounds so crazy, because then that's like a short period of time where I literally just described that, but it seemed like hours. And what was interesting at the end of this was I could feel myself coming out of the medicine a little bit more, being a little bit more coherent into the thoughts and the processes that were coming out. And I could feel myself like, I kind of want to come out of this. and I would wrestle. I mean, it felt like I was honestly wrestling this for like hours, but who knows how long it was. And I said, just this is the present, right? I don't like, so then I would think to my head, do I want more medicine? Do I not want more medicine? Do I want to go home? Do I want to stay here? And those just keep popping in my head. And I'm just like, nope, let's just sit here. Let's just stay here a little longer. Let's just keep flowing. Let's just stay here. And then it would come up again. All right, well, I'm kind of feeling out of this. Like, seems like it's wearing off. Could I go deeper? Is this the end of it? I feel really good about what just happened. I'm like, I don't really want to go back in because I feel fairly accomplished. Not in that there was an answer, but what came out of this was extremely beneficial. And I felt really good. And so then I was wrestling with, do I want more? Right? Do I want to find more answers? Do I want to discover something else? And do I want to come out of this, or do I want to just sit here and enjoy this? Because it was peaceful. It was good. And the revelation that came to me, which we've all heard, but it's different until you feel it. And this is connecting back to session 1 where I was struggling, where I was forcing things and Ashley was trying to get me to feel. And I'm like, well, how do I feel? I don't feel like I know how to feel, because thinking is just sitting there and literally trying to feel. It sounds so weird, at least to me, because that's something I struggle with. For those of you who knew this, you're just like, I don't know, just do it right. But anyways, it came down to like, I don't want anything. I don't want to come out of this. I don't want more medicine. I don't want to go anywhere. I want to be right here. And when you want nothing else, you are truly present. That's kind of what played into my head. In order for me to be 100% present in this moment of in the medicine or any other moment therein for moving forward, to be fully present, I have to want nothing else. Now, obviously, that's going to be challenging because when you're living about, there's all these things coming in, but that's the whole focus, is to try to strip all those distractions away and want none of that right now so that I can be here right now. And to me, that was a really profound moment, and it felt really good, and it felt like a big, I don't know if you want to call it roadblock was overcome or a big step. To me, it wasn't like a roadblock per se. It felt more of like getting again to this next level. And that's how I've always viewed, in this last little bit. That's what I've really been noticing, is like, it's just different layers and different levels and different understanding, and being able to go in deeper into something and elevating yourself to another level. And for me, that's what it was, is in order for me to be present in my life, in my family, in my work, whatever that is, I got to want nothing else. I want to be right here, right now. And so though finally, and I was wrestling this before she actually, brought me out of it. And then she gently touches my arm and I kind of sit up, and you get out of there and you're just like, whoa. And I'm sitting there and, I'm kind of processing. I'm trying to share what I saw as it just happened. And the intention of this one was to do a booster. So we went 3.5 grams at the beginning. And then I have no idea on the time frame, but I think it was 2 hours, somewhere around there. Afterwards, she was going to see if I wanted some more. And I'm sitting there, and again, because I went to that new level, I'm like, this is cool. I feel really good. I feel accomplished. I feel like I hit some big milestones. I don't know if I want to go anymore. I'm really enjoying right now. And she's like, well, there's no rush. Just, stay with the feeling, stay with the vibe, keep it kind of going. And I'm sitting there, and I'm so thinking, it's just like, oh man, I really could go either way. I feel really good. And I'm sitting there, and I'm trying not to think, I'm trying to feel. And ultimately it was just kind of, I don't even know. I went to the bathroom, and I was just kind of like, let's do it. And she just laughs, and she's like, a mentor of mine always said, if you're unsure, the answer is always yes. If it's a no, it's a no. And it was an interesting kind of revelation into not only what the next decision was in the choice, but then also choices then going forward just in life, right? There's definitely times where we wrestle with things that need the time and understanding of sitting with it. I'm not saying you just rush and say yes, but I started pondering more about that. It's just like, maybe I'm just saying no to a lot of things, and I'm decreasing my experience with certain things. Um, and ultimately, it came down to, I was saying yes to distractions. I wasn't saying yes to the deep work, if you want to call it that. I wasn't saying yes to what actually needed to be done. And in my opinion, going into another journey with another round of medicine was the right thing that needed to be done. And so I've been pondering and playing on that as well too, is just like, what are we saying yes to that we shouldn't be, which is ultimately, a no. It's the opposite paradigm. If I'm saying yes to something else, I'm saying no to something else, right? And so for me, it was just like, if you're unsure, it's a yes. Like if you're contemplating, and it was in the context, there's context, right? It was in the context of, this is self-improvement, right? She's looking at me encouraging whatever path I want to go down. But ultimately, I've seen such great benefit from what I've gone through. Why wouldn't I go again, right? I've seen so much positive benefit come out from this. This is just another layer and another level. And so we went right into it right away. So the booster, so obviously there's still a lot of the medicine working inside me, and a booster then kind of brings that up again, as opposed to me coming all the way back down. And it's so funny recounting the whole first part of this. The second part is becoming foggy, and we kind of go back into it, right? And having said all that, the theme of not being grounded or anchored came back again. And on this level, it was more about, we've heard the term abundance and law of attraction and things like that. And I'll be honest, I've never really felt that. I don't know what it means. People talk about it time and time again from a mindset perspective, from so many different angles and levels. And I just never felt that I could do it. I was like, why am I not being able to track this? This comes into part two of some of the guilt and shame that I've had from prior events. Like, why would I be worthy of bringing things towards me if I feel guilty and ashamed of certain things? And there's still that little bit of negative self-talk, if you want to call it that, meaning like, oh, I'm not good enough for whatever reason. Like, I see other people doing other things and they're obviously better at doing that than me. So I must not be worthy of that greatness because I just haven't got there yet. But in reality, I just haven't put the work in. Like, though, I don't want to downplay what they've done, because they work hard to get there. And there's got to be work to get to those next levels. Like in doing this and in the medicine, like it is, I just feel like I'm at this constant battle of myself, but it's really cool to see what comes from the other side of putting the work in and having that wrestle with yourself. And this last one was very similar. It was a lot of distractions. And there's a coach, a practitioner, Joe Dispenza. He has a lot of work in this meditative space and healing space. And a lot of the videos I've seen him say before about meditation is he uses an analogy like, you got to treat yourself like an animal or a dog. You just got to tell yourself to sit. You're going to be all fidgety and your mind's going to start racing. Then you just tell yourself to sit. And then it'll come up again and you just say sit. And I swear the whole last session was me just telling myself, sit. And I'm sitting there and I'm trying to just take my breaths and slow down. And then my mind would go somewhere else and I don't even know what I was thinking about, all the distractions. And I'd just say, sit. And I'd sit there and I'm taking my breaths and mind goes somewhere else. And I just say, sit. And so I just kept coming back to me saying, sit. And who knows, this could have gone on for 5 minutes. This could have gone on for 3 hours. But that's what I kept doing. And I kept saying, and I kept coming back to just me sitting. And then I'd breathe. And then the more I did this, the more I would sit and stay, I could feel myself, interestingly enough, as like what people would refer to as a magnet. Like I had a pole, like there was literally this pole stuck in the earth, the ground, the air, everything. And with magnets, there's polarity. So certain things were being, pushed away from it, right? Two of the same size, they repel, and other things were being drawn in. And I could draw in more of that energy with how I would breathe. And the deeper I would sit there and the deeper I would breathe, I'd feel it come in. And then the things that I didn't want, the opposition, as I would breathe out, I could feel and see that which moving away. And then my mind would race or go somewhere else. And the magnet would go away. All those magnetic lines would start to dissipate. And I'd say sit. And it would be hard to re-find it because it was so powerful. When I was in it, it was powerful. And then my mind would race somewhere else just in a split second. And it'd almost be like it was wiped away. And I'd say sit. And it would take me a couple breaths to get back to where I was. And then interestingly enough, some negative thoughts would come up. And the vision would not go black, but turn darker. And that negative thought, negative energy, whatever you want to call it, would start to dampen everything, and everything got started a little darker. And then I had this thought of just like, well, shit, this is opposite, magnets oppose certain things. Like, let's just flip the polarity. And I would just flip my poles, like the polarity, right? And all that negative thought then just got pushed away as I sat there. And so it's interesting, right? Because it comes back down to like choice. And that was one of the things that came up in our conversation before. And what Ashley is, she's so brilliant and she's so good at what she does, is she never tells you to do anything. It's all maybe not even suggestions, because suggestions sound like not manipulative, but it's kind of like you should be doing this, right? It's just questions of curiosity. And then she presents you with a choice, right? Like, what are your thoughts? Do you want to go back into the medicine? Do you want to do another round, right? And ultimately, as she had described too, it's all a choice, right? Your choice of being angry, happy, sad, mad, it's all a choice. And there are going to be always things that fire you up and get you aggravated, if you will. And it's your response or choice to that, which ultimately is the deciding factor of where everything goes. And so that, again, that polarity was there and it was anchored down. And I had that option of switching. And what was really cool, though, is there was a time in which I could, if you were to say, like, hit different wavelengths. So if you were to imagine air, right, you have, or the sky, certain currents of air or wind patterns, right? Some are moving faster, some are moving slower, depending on the depth. And from that magnetic field that I had created and that pulling in and pulling out, I could then tap into different what sounded or seemed like frequency levels, but I'm like, oh, this one's kind of nice. I'm feeling this. I'm digging this. And I'd kind of like come up here and I take those deep breaths in and I pull in more of that. And then it's kind of like, all right, that's kind of cool. Let me see what that one feels like. Or if something's not jiving with me, I'm like, I'm going to come down out of that one because that one wasn't working with me right now. And I would just sit there and I'd say, sit. No distractions. Distractions come up, just come back and sit and breathe. And it just magnified that. So that's the recount. That's the recount. I got a lot to work through with that and see how it processes. But the integration for this one's pretty simple to me. I just need to sit more. I need to sit, let the distractions go, breathe, be in that moment, want nothing, try to sit. It's been a wrestle in these first few days already because it's just so unfamiliar. Obviously, the medicine helps, the focus, the attention. That's why a lot of people talk about the microdosing and things like that. But there's got to be a you beyond that, in my opinion. And so I did. I will be continuing to microdose to see where it fits. Like, every day is different. But there's like today, it was just I did a run and that was my focus. Is just played a lot of the same music and stuff and trying to just stay focused, let the distractions come and go. And then after that, I just sat and just did my thing. So, they say it's a learning process. You're not going to just know what to do. And it's an ongoing learning process, something I'm always going to be able to do because there's always distractions. There's always shit that comes up. But I believe that the more I can sit and be with myself and understand that, the stronger that magnet's going to be, the stronger that harbor is going to be, that will help my calm in the storm and whatever storm, as opposed to me just getting super erratic and all over the place and just trying to constantly put out the fires and just deal with all the shit coming in. It's always going to be there. And I'm just going to sit and take some breaths and figure out how to, attract whichever pole is coming into me to bring in more of the energy and the support that I might need. And for some of that stuff that I can just let go and just try to reverse that pole and shoot that shit out there, right? Some of that stuff's going to be strong and it's going to be bouncing back against me. And then there will be a wrestle. But that is the integrative piece. I don't know what that means for you, because I've listened to podcasts where people talk about this stuff and they're just like, what? Sometimes it's you got to have experienced it to know, but your experience is going to be different than mine. But now I'm starting to see what everybody else was talking about when it comes to a meditative process. Your meditative process is going to be different and unique for you. But it might be something worth to try, is just treat yourself like Dr. Joe Dispenza says, like a dog. And just when you want to get up and wander, just sit a little longer. You'll get better at it. And then you'll just slow down and breathe and just sit. Thoughts will come in. Try to let it go. Sit a little longer. You might imagine yourself as a magnet pulling things in, or just floating with the wind and seeing what comes, or floating in the ocean. I don't know. Whatever works for you. But I appreciate those of you that have been on this journey and watched this. There's so much resources out there about this now. It's growing. There's different summit events and webinars, and obviously a ton of people that are producing content out on YouTube, and a couple good documentaries in my mind that are on Netflix. Fantastic Fungi, and I think it's just How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan. But they're super fascinating. I think they have a ton of information and resources. So if you're feeling like you might be more and more curious about this, I suggest maybe checking out some of those and seeing what could open up for possibilities for you. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Bye.